Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful 2nd of June, 2021. Coming up in the Crusty Canuck podcast, episode 130. Canada is worth fighting for, but she is tarnished. All that and more coming up in the show. Stick around.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
Mama always said I had a face for radio.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 130 of the Crusty Canuck podcast. I'm your host, Crusty Canuck. As the meme and the thumbnail say, Canada was worth fighting for, but we are tarnished, yes. In recent events, 215 bodies were discovered in Kamloops at a former residential school. Correction, not the bodies, but the remains of some young people. Young, precious individuals, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, Canada has a history of the residential schooling conglomerate, brought to you by the Clergy and provincial and federal governments alike. Now, I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at whatever prime minister or this individual or that individual, excuse me, but since the better part of the 1880s, as far as I know and what I've read thus far, yes, Sir John A. Macdonald was partially responsible for that. So was every prime minister thereafter, and so was every conglomerate of the Catholic, Anglican, United, and Presbyterian churches. So, I'm not going to sit here and promote that we put this shit under the rug. We have to deal with it, and deal with it now. Okay? After watching some of the mainstream media, CTV, CBC, and Global, and some Native elders weighing in and expressing their opinions and their thoughts on the whole thing, we have to. I would say right now, we have to do something about this, okay? Throughout history, we have been taught about genocides and about what happened to these people over here and those people over there, what happened during World War I with the Armenians and the Turks, what happened with the Jews and the Germans, what happened with certain Chinese and certain Japanese and Koreans during the Japanese onslaught during the 1930s and 40s during World War II. Genocide after genocide, okay? Now, when I look at history, when I look at the discovery of the New World from the late 1500s to 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, respectively, the Spanish Empire were evil. The French Empire was evil. The English Empire was evil. The Belgian Empire, the Dutch Empire. Every big European power did nasty things. So I get that. But I'm not going to sit and blame colonialism, and I'm not going to blame this king or that queen or this monarchy or this clergy. I'm going to blame the mentality of that time. Okay? We all know life is not perfect. Okay? And when you look at the social spectrums we have overcome and adapted to the past 50 years, we are a hell of a lot better off than what those wankers were back in the 1860s. Okay? The United States just overcame a civil war, a devastating civil war, and yet they had their problems too, and their issues with First Nations, right? And regardless of how you look at the spectrum and the history, yes, it's a terrible fucking history, one of genocide and murder, but it wasn't just white versus black or white versus native or white people this or white people that. There was a lot of prejudice and a lot of hatred within the ranks too in regards to white people. Who was Catholic, who was Protestant, who was Irish, who was English, who was loyal to this president, who was loyal to that president, who was loyal to this law, who was loyal to that law, who had money, who didn't have money, who stood 6'5", who stood 5'5". Okay? And let's remember, too, how society treated all of its children at that time as well. Let's remember how children were treated like cattle, worse than cattle, when it come to throwing them in coal mines for the sake of a few extra bucks to be saved, right? How many kids were sold into slavery? How many Irish were sold into slavery too? How many Scottish were sold into slavery? Okay? There's lots of pinpoints of history that we can sit and dwell on. But as a Canadian, as a patriot, as a veteran, as a lover of this fucking great land, I am ashamed of that. I am ashamed of the residential schooling system. Who in their right fucking mind thought that was a great idea? Honestly. Who in their right fucking mind thought, oh, this could really work? Did it? You scarred generations of children that grew up to be functioning adults or try to be functioning adults. And I don't care where you sit on the political fence or not. I would say every prime minister, every government that's been elected since the 1860s has had its hand in it somehow. And, of course, the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, the United Church of England, too. And not to mention the ties to the monarchy. Okay? I wonder if Queen Victoria knew half of the shit that was going on. How about King Edward's? Right? How about King George? And Their Majesty Queen Elizabeth, right? If any of my British listeners are listening to this right now, please ask those questions. I'd like to know. I'd like to know exactly. Now, Kamloops is just the start of something bigger that's going to happen. And I do believe, let's look at every residential school in this country and get the ground radars out there and scan the properties. Scan it all. Because not only was it sick to sit there to try to force assimilation on a group of people, but the torture, the sickness, the raping, the physical and mental abuse. Unacceptable. Okay? I'm a proud Canadian, ladies and gentlemen. I love my nation. Fuck, I love my country. And like the Midnight Oil song, my country, right or wrong. But our halo is tarnished. We got to fix it. We got to fix it. There is innocent blood that's been dispersed. All in the name of so-called progress of that time in society. All in the name of assimilation. All in the name of making people normal. Oh, become civilized. And yet, history has also forgotten, too, that the First Nations have given us many, many insights when it comes to being stewards of the land and respecting the land, the trees, the rivers, the mountains, everything. And the untapped potential, and not just in the resources that we can touch and feel on a daily basis, but the resources that are in with all of us and how we can appreciate everything that's around us. And we forget that. We forget that. Right? We have people that want to burn things in the name of ecology. We have people that want to increase the price of fuel and home heating in the name of the environment. We have people that want to outsource our resources to smaller nations that pay less, while meanwhile trying to make a lot of big bucks on other countries like UAE and Saudi Arabia and Nigeria, right, and Algeria and the socialist Venezuelan model, right? Mr. Mark Carney, you know what I'm fucking talking about, Buckeye. Hey, Pierre Poilievre put you on the fucking spot there, sport. You know exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm not talking about the oil. I'm talking about the actions that our governments and our clergy, the governing clergies at the time, because we all know how the Catholic Church had such a big influence on a lot of decisions in our government for a very, very long time. Now, I'm not disenfranchising anybody who of the Catholic faith or the Anglican faith or the Presbyterian or United. You've heard me on this show numerous times talk about how it's okay to practice and worship and believe what you want to believe, because that's our constitutional right. And that's a right for all Canadians, all colors, all creeds, all shapes and sizes, all gender spectrums and dynamics and identities, ladies and gentlemen. But the more and more I see these news stories, the more and more I hear the marbles in the mouth mandates coming from our leaders, the more and more I realize that our halos are tarnished.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And two, ladies and gentlemen, please check me out on supercast.tech. You'll find the link in the description. $5 a month gets you all of my episodes censorship-free. Canadian-based company helping out Canadian podcasters. Check out the link in the descriptions. Join Supercast today and support Crusty Canuck on my quest to make this podcast fucking phenomenal. But it takes people like you and my listeners like you to make that happen. And I'm very, very grateful to some of the comments I've received this past week in regards to my work, what I stand for, what I do. Thank you, my beautiful audience. Thank you very much. Give yourselves a pat in the back And don't be hesitant to support other Canadian podcasters too. Rub that Bill C-10 mandate in their fucking faces and let them know that we have Canadian content, and it's up to the listener to decide whether he or she wants to see more of it or not. Personal choice, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, getting back to the whole Tarnished halo. Okay, now I fought for my country for a very good reason. Excuse me. Too much tobacco. I was at a time in my career where I was going to transition into the Navy. I love scuba diving. I'm a scuba diver, and I wanted to make a go of it. And at the time, I was in the best shape of my life. I could run, lift weights, do all these wonderful things like any good soldier could. And I was in the process of transferring into the Navy. A situation came up because of my background in radios and with SIG's platoon, all that good stuff. I remember a company sergeant major pulled me aside and asked me if I wanted a spot in this tour. Gave me an afternoon to think about it, yada, yada, yada. He knew that I had paperwork in, trying to transfer to the Navy and all this, and I had to reapply 2 months later because of administration and bureaucracy bullshit. But he gave me that opportunity. So I said, yes, I'll go on this tour. And therefore, I joined the Omelette, and I became what they call the Shadow One Pronto, basically the radio guy. And I did my tour. And that tour revalidated my love and my respect for the infantry yet again. And I persevered. And we did some good things in that country. And we also just recently acknowledged the passing of one of our brothers, another shadow call sign, Matt McCulley. He gave me the finer points of the radio, showed me how to work this antenna, how to put this frequency in, how to use crypto, all that good stuff. Basically, he was like my mentor. And I think about you time to time, Matt. Rest in peace, brother. Hooah. Anyway, carrying on. What I talked about is the fact that I signed up to fight when I didn't have to. I had an opportunity to go into the Navy as a diver or stand my ground. And we did. And the guys I served with are fucking phenomenal human beings. We saw some wonderful things, did some wonderful things, got into some firefights, saw some action, all that good stuff. Wasn't fucking Hollywood, but we were fighting for something bigger than ourselves. And if it means you're helping the little guy out, doesn't matter if they're from Afghanistan or from this country or that country or even home here in Canada. We stood on guard for thee. We did our jobs. And now, after seeing all this BS the past 6 years, especially with our federal government and provincial governments alike, and now finding this garbage out, this inhumane fucking mandate that the clergy and the presiding governments of that time promoted and did and kept under the rug. It's more than just a slap in the face, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real kick in the proverbial balls on how we were governed at one time and how our grandparents were raised and our parents were raised too. Okay? Now, for any politician out there to this day who sits there and says, oh, we're systematically racist. Well, I could say we're systematically ignorant. Okay? Not racist, but ignorant. Okay? My solution is this. Teach what happened in the residential schools to all fucking high school curriculum. What happened there? Okay? What was the mentality? Theorize what they were thinking at that time. Okay? And bring it to light. Okay? In order to cure darkness, you put light on it. Okay? In order to expose the witch, you expose her in public. Okay? So let the witch be that part of our history that needs to be exposed. Okay? It needs to be exposed because I've had some great conversations with First Nations. I've had some great conversations with people from the Cree Nation and the Blackfoot. My best friend is Dene. Okay? I've been friends with him since 1990. Okay? And yet he was raised by white people, okay. But he's also been in touch with his roots too. And he's well aware of his background and what he does and who he is. And he's never once pointed a finger at me for being white, or he's never once pointed a finger at anybody for being black or white or pink or purple. He's done his own thing, and he's survived a lot of circumstances in his life. And I'm glad to call him my best friend today. And I'm not sitting here saying I have a token friend of this or a token friend of that. I just have a friend who happens to be And he's a great man. So when someone tells me this country is systematically racist, I just say bullshit. But there is systematic ignorance and systematic others. But when you look at our parliamentary system and the legislative systems and our provincial parliaments alike, you see a lot of diversity. You see a lot of men and women of different origins, different colors and creeds, different sexual orientation. Not that it fucking matters anymore. I could care less if Bill and Steve get busy during a barbecue. I don't care. The thing being, we got to focus on what's right here, ladies and gentlemen. The economy, getting people back to work, asking the tough questions, and demanding the fucking answers. And if you get an excuse from a politician, therefore you know they're not really into what they want to do. They're not into representing. They're in it for themselves. And it's time to change the sheets.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, once again, please join me in Supercast as well, too. Just follow the green check mark in the description. Join Supercast. $5 a month gets you all of my uncensored episodes of the Crusty Canuck podcast. Not that I'm still being censored as far as I know, but I've had a few people from YouTube and other of my platforms weighing in saying I can't see your whole episode, or I can't see this, or I can't hear that. And I'm looking at my audio equipment. It's not an audio issue. I think it's a big tech issue. So please join me at Supercast today. $5 a month gets you all of the Crusty Canuck audio episodes, censorship free. And an update too, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said last week, or last episode, I am no longer doing the Thursday fastball. I'm going to name it something else in the future, just based on my work schedule and different commitments I have now outside of the podcast. It's almost impossible now for me to do the Thursday fastball. So that's canceled. We'll be working on something different in the near future, but stay updated with my community page and my Facebook page for updates on that. Sunday fastball is still a go, or Fastball Sunday, still a go. This Sunday coming up. Myself, Danny Mezei, hopefully. I think he's still on location. But Chris Semchuk, Fred Stockman, and others will be joining me this Sunday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So stay posted to my community page and Facebook page for updates on that as well. And I am working on interviews, hopefully, with Stephen Brule in the future, maybe Janice Fiamengo. I reached out to Pierre Poilievre there a few weeks back to come by and say hello, all that good stuff, but I'm still waiting on that. But please stay tuned to my community pages for updates on all of my live streams. And in the next little while, too, I've worked out a video and audio format where I'll be recording myself, not just for the podcast, but putting a video up there, too. So if you want to see my ugly radio mug when I do my podcasts, I will make that happen for you, ladies and gentlemen, too. So keep that in mind. All right, just give you some more updates as they come. And please check out my shop, A Customized Girl. I got T-shirts, I got hats, I got mugs, I got swimsuits, I got Gitch. And I got other little trinkets there with the Crusty Canuck logo. So please support the Crusty Canuck podcast by purchasing some swagger at the Crusty Canuck shop at Customized Girl. Links will be in the description. Anyway, again, carrying on. Canada's tarnished halo. Yes, we do. We do have a history of bullshit. Okay? We do have a history of segregation. Okay? But it doesn't just stop and start with the First Nations, ladies and gentlemen. 1860s, you were judged based on your height. You were judged based on your choice of faith, Catholic or Protestant. You were judged on the money you made. You were judged if you were born into wealth or not. Farmers were looked down on in those days, even though they provided sustenance to many people. Okay? In the turn of the century, a lot of people were looked down on based on their height and based on their economic well-being. Right? There are a lot of people that came to Canada during that time that come from very, very wealthy families that set up homesteads, that set up mansions and set up factories. So be it. That's how a capitalized system works. But needless to say, there was prejudice there too. And it wasn't just about the color. It was about social status or what have you. So there's a long history of prejudice, through all walks of life. Okay? All walks of life. But this one issue, well, it's issues, not just one issue, is a big fucking tarnish in our halo. And to my First Nation listeners out there, if you want to talk to me, if you don't feel that you want to talk to somebody else, if you want to talk to me, please reach out to me, crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. Okay? Not only am I going to offer a listening opportunity to my veteran friends and what have you, and to people that really need to talk, but I'm still reaching out to my native listeners out there too. If you want to talk to me about something, or if you have information for me, please just get a hold of me in the links in the description there. I'm willing to listen, ladies and gentlemen. And not because I'm hoping to get a seat in Parliament as a candidate for the Veterans Coalition Party, but as an adult, as a man, as someone who wants to hear the story, someone who wants to know, right? Someone who wants to expose this garbage for what it really is. And really, it is garbage. Any clergy, any government office that willfully and willingly stands by those mandates to this day, well, they're just fucking idiots. But at the time, they're still idiots too. Okay? Taking kids from their homes, forcing them to read, forcing them to be this, forcing them to be that. Not to speak their own language, not to promote their own culture. All in the name of assimilation. Okay? And that was the mandate at the time. And I guess you can say maybe society at the time thought it was right, but we all know now it's wrong. But I also like to know, too, how many politicians that are still alive that were still accepting that behavior in the 1960s, 70s, 80s, and up until they closed the last residential school in 1996. How many governments since then have known and did and said nothing about it? When we're constantly being fucking reminded about the whole marginalization and the systemic this and systemic that, oh my God, my feelings are hurt, please help me. Well, it's not a matter of your feelings, it's a matter of your fucking actions and lack of them. So, I'm going to open the floor to another debate. I've said this before in the show, okay? I would like any politician that was alive at that time, and it really wasn't that long ago, ladies and gentlemen, okay, to justify what happened and why it happened, okay? So if any politician out there is listening, I don't care if you're conservative, liberal, NDP, green, rhinoceros, I don't care what you represent. I dare anybody to justify what happened, okay? We can talk about the social structure, which I just did, the social structure at the time, yes, okay? But let's say from 1969 to 78 when Pierre Elliott Trudeau was the prime minister. And how much cahoots did he have with the clergy at that time to still allow these schools to fucking operate? Especially when he was the first one that tooted the horn of multiculturalism. And yet the whole time he's talking about multiculturalism, we had it in our backyard the whole fucking time. Right? So my listeners, I encourage you to go out and talk to First Nations members, to go to a reservation, have a conversation, share a cup of tea, have some tea, share some tobacco, share some wisdom with each other. Share wisdom, share thoughts, share ideas. Try to find viable solutions to this fucking manufactured chaos.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
Well, smack my ass and call me Judy.
And smack it I shall. Anyway, carrying on. I'm getting a little heated there, but I just, these thoughts keep dancing in my head every time I see a report of this, and it's not going to get any better. I'm not going to sit here and promote the doom and gloom, ladies and gentlemen, but this is just the start, and I would graciously promote that every province hires a company to ground radar every residential school to find out the truth, and that's what's going to set us free, ladies and gentlemen, the truth, okay? The truth. Screw the color schematic, screw the quantity or quality schematic. Let's look at the fucking truth here, okay? And let's start treating people like people. It doesn't matter if you're from Asia, It doesn't matter if you're from Jamaica. It doesn't matter if you're from Pakistan, India, Bangladesh. It doesn't matter if you're Eastern European or Western European. It doesn't matter if you're from South America or not. It doesn't matter if you have Spanish roots or English roots or Scottish roots, Irish roots. Who gives a fuck? This is Canada. This was made up of all colors and creeds, all cultures. Okay? And if the federal government can spend time and effort apologizing to about 1,000 Italian descendants that were locked up during the Second World War, and apologize to Japanese descendants that were locked up during the Second World War, why isn't the federal government standing firm, standing tall, and saying, hey, we fucked up here, Canada. Let's find a viable solution. Let's work on this together. Okay? Our PM sock puppet keeps deflecting racism every time you question his ability or question his slap and tickle mandates with the Communist Party of China. We all know they're shagging each other. That's nothing new. Liberals have done that since the 1960s. Pierre-Elliott Trudeau loved doing that. He loved a piece of his Mao Tse-tung. He loved his Mao. He loved his Castro, too. Hell, he might even had a shared a fucking few vodkas with Leonid Brezhnev. Especially when they fucking invaded Afghanistan in 1979. But hey, we don't hear about that, though, do we? No, of course not. That's not right. No, this man was a godsend. Which also brings me to the point more, too. Why do we have to keep taking down our statues? Sir John A. wasn't perfect. Neither was Robert Borden. Neither was Wilfrid Laurier. Neither was Mackenzie King, Louis Saint Laurent. Neither was Diefenbaker. Neither was Pearson. Neither was Pierre-Elliott Trudeau. Neither was Joe Clark. Neither was Maroney. Jean Chrétien. Paul Martin. They all had their dark little chapters, ladies and gentlemen, but for fuck's sakes, this country was founded by people that wanted a Canada. And regardless of the racial divide at the time, I would like to think that we built something worth fighting for. Because when I did my operations, I fought for Canada. And I'm going to keep fighting for Canada, regardless of how tarnished the halo is or not. It's up to us to clean it up, polish it up and make it brand new, and reinforce the foundation of what this nation should be. A working, satisfying, legitimate, and thriving fucking democracy. And it can be done, folks. It can be done. Okay? It can be done. There's a story that came out of the National Post, and I'll post it on my description there, but I'll summarize it. It was basically talking about the whole issue of how government is hard, how the hard decisions aren't being made, and rightfully so, especially this 6 years. The past 6 years has been a beautiful example of what our government is not doing, okay? They've spent money ridiculously. They'd rather give $25 million to Gaza Strip to quote-unquote help the Palestinian strife, which I personally think might go to just Hamas, not the Palestinian people, okay? Constant handouts to African nations to fight climate change, and yet we also know that all of that money goes to the UN or from the UN and goes to little dictatorships. It doesn't go to the people that need it the most, right? And yet we can't get proper clean water to our First Nations and in other parts of this country too. Okay, we can't find the mandates to look after our veterans properly. We can't find the mandates to look after procurement properly because the whole beer bug issue has been such a fucking fiasco. One doctor saying, oh, we can't mix and match vaccines. And the other doctor saying, oh, yeah, sure, we can do that. Yeah, Dr. Tam says, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, Dr. Tam, who looked like a man. Yeah, we can do that, right? So which is it? And the procurement board, as far back as last October, saying, oh, we can't say the names of certain companies because it might jeopardize a contract. And yet they can't decide which is coming or which is going. And then people start finger pointing, well, we don't have the factories anymore to do this, or we don't have the facilities to do this. Yet we have all the facilities to hand out billions of dollars to other nations, yet we can't find a few $1,000,000 to bring in proper vaccines to this country. Scratch your ass for a minute and think about that. Interesting.
Stay updated and follow Crusty Canuck on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, YouTube, and Podbean. Subscribe today and donate at crustycanuck.ca.
And like I say again, ladies and gentlemen, please join me on Supercast. $5 a month gets you all of my episodes, audio, censorship free, ladies and gentlemen. Supercast, Canadian-based company, helping out Canadian podcasters such as myself, Crusty Canuck. So please join the Supercast page today. $5 a month, get all my episodes. And please help me create better and more rewarding content. And if half of my listeners out there, especially my subscribers on the tube, if you're to donate a few bucks every month, half my subscribers, wow, I'd be on my way to making something great. So please consider donating today too. I'd like to make this a full-time commitment, ladies and gentlemen. I need you, my wonderful audience, to make that happen. So please consider donating today. I'm not going to demand cash. I'm not one of those gamers or OnlyFans aficionados that demand just because I want to shake my ankles or shake my tush. Sorry, I'm a little more mature than that, and I'm not the best-looking guy on the planet to do that. So, anyhow, please consider donating today. Anyway, carrying on. We're at the point of the episode 2 where I choose the Polar Vortex of Bullshit Award. So, with due consideration and with some personal thought and reflection, the
Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
I think the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit Award should go to none other than, wait for it, the Catholic Church of Canada. Why, you ask? Well, I'm not trying to hurt any devout Catholics out there, but the organization of the Catholic Church of Canada has had its ties with the residential schooling since its inception back in the 1860s or 70s or 80s. Anyway, when it started. And shame on you, right? Now, I know some Catholic people, and they're not bad people. Okay, I'm not categorizing the whole Catholic Church into one big group, but the organization, the leadership, and the people that knew what the fuck was going on and did nothing about it, you are well-deserved recipients of
the Canadian Polar Vortex of Bullshit.
So well done on all the archdioceses and bishops, and especially the nuns and the preachers that did their fucking dirty deeds. Now, I mentioned in the show earlier before, ladies and gentlemen, let there be an investigation. Let's open up the paperwork. Let's see what the fuck is going on. And I'm almost positive, too, there's probably documentation and records that have, quote-unquote, mysteriously disappeared or been burnt or lost over the years. Nonetheless, we got to dig deep and find the truth here. And not just for the First Nations, but for all of us. All of us as Canadians. Right? We got to clean our halo, folks. We're not perfect, but, democracies are not perfect. They're not. But they're a hell of a lot fucking better than totalitarianism, and they're a hell of a lot better than the bullshit that the CCP wants to fucking promote. Right? Something to think about. And to all those college and university kids out there that worry about fucking spelling and grammar, go out and get some real fucking life experience before you start pointing fingers at us fucking dogs. Get it? Right? That's how lived experience works. You actually got to live through something and know something before you call it experience. Twat waffles. Something to think about. Right? But once again, ladies and gentlemen, the viable solution is let's look at the records. Let's demand answers from our parliamentarians and legislatures and bureaucrats alike. Okay? Let's not promote the divide anymore. Let's not let this divide us. Let us find the truth. Let us find the answers to the best of our ability. Reach our hands out to all nations of this country and say, yes, how can we help? And we all want to find the truth. It's that simple. We all got to try to find the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I am proud of my country. I'm proud of the fact that we do have a healthcare system that does pretty good. This past year has proven otherwise, but nonetheless, I like the fact that One day, if I'm working outside and I fall off my ladder, I can call an ambulance and get patched up and looked after just like that. That's fine. But there's other things we got to work on too. There's other bureaucracies we have to cut away and dismay, just like some of our politicians. We've got to cut down on the leadership. Too many cooks in the kitchen, ladies and gentlemen. That simple. No, not enough people to clean and to serve the food and serve the product. There's too many cooks making decisions over simple plates. You know what I mean? And we can do better. I know we can do better. I was raised in a household where you don't judge on color. You don't judge on sexual orientation. We're all guilty of saying bad words, but it's the actions that fucking count, ladies and gentlemen. And we're seeing the lack of action. We are. Right? I'll be posting some more issues there too, and a couple of videos in my description, so please follow along that. A native elder by the name of Bruce Allen has a great story from the CBC, and I'll post that in the description. And please listen and try to be as open as possible, ladies and gentlemen. Regardless of what your views are on native rights in this country, they have to be listened to. Okay, I'm all for native rights, and I'm all for land rights too. But I also want to question the monarchy, and I want to question the senior government officials that were alive at that time in the 70s and the 80s. And I want to see what they said and what they did and why they didn't do something, or what were they afraid of. You know what I mean? A proper investigation. If we can dig up old tweets and dig up old bullshit when someone says this or someone says that 10 or 15 years ago, then why can't we hold leaders and bureaucrats in the same light too? Something to think about, folks. Right? And if they do call an election in the fall, even though Parliament said, oh no, we can't have an election because of the pandemic, well, there's one coming. So to my listeners out there, especially my Canadian listeners, we got to think really, really hard on who we want calling the shots in the next 5-10 years. Okay? We've got to do that. Let's factor in all this bullshit we have seen this past year and a half alone, and to see who we want calling the shots and governing. I want to see more natives. I want to see more First Nations get involved in our federal politics. I want to see more people thrive. I want to see all Canadians thrive. All colors and creeds. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you're Dene or Blackfoot or Crow or Ojibwe. I don't care if you're Inuit. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're Asian. I don't care if you love your boyfriend Bob and he calls you Steve. I don't care. I don't care how you march. I don't care who you sleep with. What I care about is how you treat people. Don't hit people and take their fucking stuff. And let people thrive. That's simple. Right? That's simple. And yet, we're constantly being told it's unattainable. I don't buy that for one fucking second. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I've been Crusty Canuck on this beautiful 2nd of June, 2021. A little vented there. A little disappointing. Well, I'm hurt. But I'm not going to pull the whole simp soy boy bullshit on that. I am a genuine, concerned citizen, a Canadian. I'm angry. And you should be too. But let's channel this anger into something positive and trying to find a viable solution to who we are as a nation and what we can do to help each other overcome these obstacles. It's that simple, folks. Like I say, I've been Crusty Canuck. Thank you, my audience, my wonderful audience, for your support. And please keep liking, subscribing, and share this stuff around on every media spectrum that you can. Please share this around. Keep the algorithm, help the algorithm, help us. You know what I mean? Every social platform, doesn't matter if you're on Facebook, YouTube, Gab, Telegram, ones that I've mentioned, ones you're on. I also have a Brighteon page too. So look at the description for that link as well. Trying to get some more videos out there for a bigger audience and all that stuff too. So please click like, subscribe, share this all over the place. And do what you can to help each other out, folks, in these trying times. I know things are going to get tougher. Hyperinflation may be looming. So do what you can to save your pennies. You know, invest in some dry goods. To my firearms friends out there too, get into some reloading, maybe stock them a bit of ammo just in case. I'm not encouraging anything of the sort, but just in case, right? Extra gasoline, good stuff. Just keep everything simple, tidy, insane. And don't hesitate to help your neighbors out too. Do what you can. Protect your friends, fight for your loved ones, all that good stuff. And like I say, ladies and gentlemen, humanity and merit wins the day. Take care, and I'll see you Sunday on Fastball Sunday. Bye for now.
Hit it, sweetheart. Because I am hard, you will not like me. Yes, sir. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthless.
From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck Podcast, a Canadian veteran's point of view on political, social, economic issues and life. Here's Crusty.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. I have an infection in my ear.
This has been another episode of the Crusty Canuck Podcast. Stay sane and thank you for listening. From Western Canada, this is the Crusty Canuck Podcast.